People make all sorts of mistakes while moving to Florida. We know because we've made a few.
In this video, we're going to tell you the one biggest mistake that you can avoid to make your move to Florida a successful one. If throughout the video you find yourself enjoying our content, please subscribe down below.
And hit that bell
so you don't miss any of our uploads.
Especially when we go live.
Every Thursday night, guys, to answer your questions. Now let's get right into the video.
Right now.
Sunshine, blue skies, it's a state of mind that we came to find. I'm talking about palm trees, we're making memories. I don't wanna leave this sunshine state of mind.
So guys, we're about to give you the one biggest mistake that you can avoid when you move to Florida, and we know that this is the biggest mistake to avoid because it's a mistake that we made ourselves.
Yeah, guys, this one thing was like a rippling effect.
Once you make this mistake, it can become destructive and affect so many different aspects of your move.
And guys, if you're new here, this is Eric and I's second move to Florida.
So why don't we stop beating around the bush and tell you guys what the one mistake is that you need to avoid.
So the one biggest mistake that you can do is thinking that Florida will or should be exactly the same from wherever you're coming from.
Yeah, guys, you need to expect change. We say that all the time in almost every video. It's almost like a broken record.
It is.
Expect change.
Like it seriously is, but I cannot. It sounds so simple. Some of you may just be rolling your eyes like, really? That's the big secret? I'm telling you guys, doing this could set you up for failure.
From the get-go. So there's multiple areas of the move that you can look at, and we can talk about some of them and say why you should expect these things to be different and what exactly might be different about these specific things. So where should we start?
Why don't we talk about the thing that was the most challenging for you and I to get used to? And that was the healthcare and schools.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the first place you're gonna try, whether it be healthcare, whether it be a school for your children, if you have any, it might not be the right fit. And you need to go into this with an open mind and have these conversations ahead of time with your significant other, with your family members, with your kids, whoever it is, about schools and healthcare, and say, listen, we're gonna try this place out first. If it's not a good fit, let's communicate and we can always try some new place. Make sure everyone's on board to put the work in and find the right fit, whatever it may be.
Eric and I, we came from a really, really small community. So coming in such a big area as Central Florida, it was an adjustment for us. And it definitely was an adjustment for our kids. I think as well, going into these school systems, my kids went to the same school I went to. Some of their teachers were the same teachers that I had. So you can imagine the adjustment when we got here. But what I've learned both from living 2 years in Florida and then going back to our home state and then coming back again is I don't really know what all of our fuss was about in the beginning.
That's true.
I really, really don't. And now I'm telling you from someone who had moved here, moved back to their home state, and then moved back again, welcome the change. Don't get stressed. Just be open to learning, ask questions. If you're not comfortable with something going on in your child's school, talk to the school. Have them explain. This is how things are done. This is our protocols. This is normally how we handle this to that. And like Eric said, it may not be a right fit. Our kids, they had went through 2 schools when we had first got here and to find that right fit. Our kids love school now. They love where they are.
And the same can be said about healthcare and finding a doctor, guys. If you're not comfortable with that first doctor that you go to, by all means, find somebody else in your insurance's network and go see someone else.
Guys, my very first appointment I had here, I have quite a bit of specialists I have to see. And my first appointment, I waited 6 hours in the waiting room.
And at first, we're just like, this is what Florida doctors are like?
This is crazy. Like, I remember coming home in tears being like, Eric, I can't do this. But guess what, guys? Yes, Is it an inconvenience to go see another doctor and another doctor? Yeah, it's not the greatest thing. But if I wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't be at the doctor that I am today. And I absolutely love my physician.
You just went to the doctor a couple weeks ago and you were literally the only person in the parking lot.
In and out. And I love it. And she takes her time with me and she's patient. She holds my hand. That's the kind of doctor that I need and that I look for. And I found it here, you guys. I found it here in Florida. It can be done.
So I'm going to circle back once and talk about those of you that have kids again. But this does not just pertain to kids. Because what we've noticed from our experience moving to Florida is that it's a lot easier for kids and adults to both make new friends here.
And I also want to say, one of our mistakes that we did when we first got here is that we were so wrapped up in our stress of the move, things being different. We were talking about the ripple effect, guys, and we shut ourselves out. We did not open our house or our heart to anyone else. We stayed in our own little bubble, and I'm telling you, do not do that. Do not do that. Especially if your story and your journey is much like Eric and I's, where you're coming here without friends, coming here without family. You're going to need that support system.
And this is almost like a reverse, don't expect things to be the same way, because this, for one thing, is much better. You know what I mean? It's like, it's easier to make friends, from our opinion, here in Florida, because there's lots of people that are in the same boat. Lots of people that are moving here from other places. So again, in turn, there's going to be lots of people that are looking for new friends. As our kids would tell us, it's easier to break in and establish yourself in groups of friends than it would be in a hometown or a small town that already has established friend groups. And the same can be said for adults. So welcome this change and grow yourself that support system here in Florida.
Again, guys, we're talking from an experience that we went through. This time around versus the first time around is night and day difference. If you go back and you watch some of our old videos, I think that will attest to it. Opening ourselves to friendships here has been the most amazing experience, and it is definitely setting our journey here in Florida up for a success. So the next thing that you can expect to be a little different depending on where you're coming from is your drive to and from places. And we're not just talking about the traffic.
So besides the traffic, the distance between point A and point B might be much greater than it is where you come from.
Guys, here in Central Florida, things are so spread out. Now, if you're going down to the coastlines where you're in a smaller little beach community, that may be a little bit different for you.
But here in Central Florida, almost everything is built off of these highways. Like the communities are off of highways. Each one has their own entrance, and the next entrance is about a mile down. And then the next shopping mall or shopping center is another mile down. So it's not like going to your corner store like it would be in many of the towns if you're from the Midwest or from the Northeast.
Yeah, it took me a little bit to kind of wrap my head around that I would put my GPS in to the kids' baseball, and it would say it's only 6 miles away, but it took me like 25 minutes to get there.
That's what we're talking about with the traffic. I mean, the distances sometimes are great, but you got to take into account the traffic as well. And maybe this isn't as big of a change for you, but for many of you that are watching us, and from those of you that we talk to a lot, it is a big change because many of you are coming from these smaller rural towns and not necessarily the big metropolitan areas. So again, for us, the distance between things, the traffic was something that took a lot of getting used to for us. And it's not necessarily that we expected it to be the same as the hometown that we came from, but we just don't want you guys to be expecting that. So be prepared for change, no matter what it is, good or bad.
So this next one was one of the biggest reasons that got us here in Florida in the first place, and that was culture and diversity. Before Eric and I even ever had children, we had talked about how we wanted to raise them, what we wanted to introduce them to, how we wanted them to grow up and learn.
How we wanted them to view the world.
Exactly, and culture and diversity was the top of that list. And Florida is definitely...
It's a melting pot.
It is, and I love it.
You don't just find different races here. You find different cultures, different nationalities.
Yep.
There's literally people that move to Florida from almost every single country in the world, which is crazy, and it's so cool too. I mean, to immerse yourself in different cultures, hear different languages being spoken, hear different accents, eat different
foods, the music,
everything, guys. I mean, culture and diversity, like Lindsay said, were top of our list. And hopefully that's at the top of your list as well. But we just want you to be prepared for it if it's not something that you were really thinking about. So another thing that you need to prepare yourself for that's going to be different is probably going to be the prices of everything. Now, again, depending on where you're coming from, this can be a good or a bad thing. If we're talking about gas prices and you're coming from California, Florida's a good thing, right? The gas prices are going to be a lot less. But if you're coming from the Midwest, gas prices are probably right now even going to be about 50 cents higher per gallon. And it doesn't stop just at the gas. The groceries are more expensive too. And depending on where you live in Florida, the groceries can be more. If you live by a big touristy spot, like we do, by Disney, expect groceries to be a decent amount higher than what they would be in a more rural Florida town. And definitely a lot more than what they would be in a rural Midwest town. One thing that really surprised me when we first moved here was the price of milk. Now, coming from Wisconsin, we could get milk for about $2 a gallon. When we came to Florida, I was really surprised to see that milk was about $4 a gallon at the grocery store. Now, that's a big difference.
Huge.
You want to know what else is huge, Lindsay?
What?
The housing market and how hard it is to find a house here in Florida, whether you're renting or buying. So we've mentioned this in a couple of our past videos, but we all know how crazy the housing market is right now, whether you're renting or buying, like we just said. But here in Florida, it's extremely competitive, and many people are having a hard time finding a rental or finding a house to buy.
I know when we were trying to get back here, it was insane. There were times that I thought, are we going to be able to pull this off?
And again, I keep on repeating myself with this, but whether you're renting or buying, expect to have multiple times that you get turned down. Many landlords now are putting out really high expectations for their renters, and it's making it a lot harder for people to find housing here in Florida.
Guys, there was a point where renting, they were literally having bidding wars.
Still are.
That's insane to me. Like, that is like mind-blowing.
And I talked to our neighbor next door who's renting the house out, and he was telling me he wasn't even accepting applications from anybody who had a 760 or lower credit score.
Guys.
Now, that's insane for renting. I mean, you're a very well-qualified buyer at that point.
Yes.
And the same can be said for buying a house right now. Expect to put an offer on a house and not be the only offer. Not be the only 5 offers. Usually there's 5+ offers on houses, and they're all for over the asking price. Now again, I know that this can be said about many different areas in the country, but Florida especially, there's a lot of people trying to move into the state and very low inventory, whether it's buying or renting. Again, I said it again.
You did say it again. But I want to reassure you, we don't want to discourage because it can happen. Guys, we've just moved back within the last 5 months?
Yeah, and the housing market was in the same state then as it is now, if not a little bit less inventory, I would say. So it can be done, guys.
Yes, it definitely can. So just hang on. Just be patient.
And that's part of what this video is about. It's expect change, but don't lose hope.
Exactly.
So if you've recently made a move to Florida, what have you noticed that's different and have now embraced? Let us know in the comments below because we'd love to hear about it, and our whole community, I'm sure, would love to learn from it.
Let's help each other out, guys.
That's what we're all about. As always, guys, we thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.